Welcome back, everyone. It's just another day in the life as a military wife. And this week, I wanted to talk a little bit about holidays, traditions, boundaries. This time of year can be stressful, especially when we get out of our routines. How do we handle it? And what do we do so that we're not so lonely? Because as military families, we don't always have the luxury of being able to be with our families of origin during the holiday season. So, how have we compensated and things like that? Part of the way I've prepped for this episode is I threw that question out on social media in a lot of military spouse groups that I'm a part of to get feedback from other military spouses on what they've done and what they do during the holidays to not feel so homesick. And I want to share that all with you. As always, I am your host, Sam Wolf, and you're listening to Life of a Military Wife. Okay, so let's talk about this. Again, as I said before, as military families, we're often not around our families of origin and the places we grew up during the holidays. And so our family traditions are how we spend the holidays has to change. And then also another factor is with the holidays in general, it takes us out of our normal routines, and that can be stress inducing for us as adults as well as for children. What does that look like? How can we work on that? So I want to tackle that first. What do boundaries look? Sorry, excuse me, got a bit of a hiccup there. What do boundaries look like on the holidays? And found this really nice little flow chart that had some suggestions, and it got me thinking about this. But basically, it's being able to advocate for yourself, knowing what your limits are. I'm an extrovert. I love socializing. I very frequently have overbooked my family over the holidays because it makes me feel happy. I'm not the only person in my family, and my husband is not as much of an extrovert as I am. And it is not as enjoyable for him to be overly booked in the holidays. And so we've had to make compromises on how much we do, what we do. And I have to be very careful and clear, like we've been talking about recently. Okay, what are we doing for the XYZ? Who are we having over? What are what are basically the limitations I've been given to not overwhelm him? But sometimes when people approach us with things, the invitations to different parties and activities and whatnot, it's okay to express our feelings and stand up for ourselves in a polite, kind way. And that can sometimes be like, hey, I appreciate the invitation, but this year we want to stay home and spend time as a family. I had a friend actually say that to me, and that's because her husband's been deployed and he just got home and they want a quiet Christmas, just them. And you know what? I can respect that. And when she said that, I had no issues with it. I really appreciate that she set that boundary, and I'm able to respect that and understand it. I think most military spouses can understand that one. So, another way is maybe, for example, there's someone you are less comfortable with and you know they're going to be at the same place. There are just people that sometimes can stress us out, and you might have to say, hey, I just don't feel comfortable with so and so there. And that depends on the relationship. Another one would be, last year was really stressful. Could we dial it back, or we might not come for the whole time because it was just too late for my kids? And that is something that has happened with our kids before. Our friends of ours have said that too. They're like, you know what? It's the holidays, but I don't want my kids going to bed really late because they're just going to be monsters. And, I can respect that too. Like, if kids are kids and they can't always handle everything, sometimes you have to just let things go. Another one is because, yeah, this goes along with that. I can come, but I'll have to leave by this time. Or, um, you know what? How I don't want to host. Yeah, I love the idea of let's do a girls' night, white elephant gift exchange. That's great. I don't want to host though. How can I help you if you want to host? Because not everybody wants to decorate up their house and have everyone over and everything. Not everyone are a hosting kind of people. This is another really great one that I saw. I'm okay with that, but can we please not discuss politics? You know what? I think that the holidays is one time, holiday celebrations especially, are one time a year we can just set politics aside. Let's pretend they don't exist for 1 or 2 days a year. I think it's okay to take a break from politics. So that's a good boundary. I think it's totally okay to set that one. Um, Another way you could say it is, thank you for thinking of me, but I just can't. We can't do it this year. And another one is, you know what? Um, could we change, like, XYZ thing or whatever? I The other side of times is sometimes people just need alone time. Like, I don't feel comfortable with this or that. Anyway, being basically the point I'm trying to make is I am perfectly comfortable with probably doing everything that I could possibly do during the holidays, but you don't have to be. It's okay to set boundaries. In fact, oftentimes it's a easier to enjoy holidays if you do set those boundaries. So that kind of goes into traditions and different things like that. For us, I grew up, and I've talked about this before, in this huge Italian American extended family. We got together for all the holidays. We'd spend Christmas Eve together. We'd spend most of Christmas Day together. It was just this big, huge to do. Um, and I was used to having like 40 people all crammed into a house all the time, tons of noise. And I loved it. I totally thrived off of it. And quiet was so hard for me. My husband hadn't grown up with that. He had grown up going to see grandparents or, different things like that, having his siblings around. And he did have a big family. He has lots of siblings, but it wasn't all these aunts and uncles and cousins all the time. And so for him, he was used to a little bit more laid back, free flowing pace, whereas we had set traditions that we did every year and we knew what to expect and who was going where and what we were doing. And there was gift exchanges and all sorts of stuff, and menu was all planned out and everything. So we came from two different universes, and then we had to come up with our own traditions. And we had to come up with our own things, especially having little kids and being far away from family. And so it's taken us time, and I've talked about this before. Um, I've learned to enjoy quiet. I, as a very aggressively social person, as my husband puts it sometimes, um, struggle with appreciating quiet and not having lots of people around, but I am learning to be okay with it. So what our holidays, our Christmas especially, has started to look like is on Christmas Eve, we will read the nativity story and we will do our Jesus stocking. So we'll talk about what our gift is for Jesus, and we'll read about what our gift we gave last year and see how we did on that. Usually it's a goal on something we want to improve ourselves, like being kinder, not arguing as much. Like, that's the sort of stuff the kids pick usually. And then we do the 12 days of Christmas. And to simplify that, because coming up with a 12 days of Christmas doorbell ditching thing to do every year that's is just redoing it is hard. So I saw this. I'm a Pinterest person, totally love Pinterest, gonna be completely honest. This wonderful idea on Pinterest is to get a nativity and then doorbell ditch a nativity piece every single night with scripture and like a little treat. And that is fantastic because I can prep the entire thing before the 12 days of Christmas even starts. And then all we have to do is grab the corresponding bag for that day and drop it off. and I am done. It doesn't actually require any extra thought during the 12 days of Christmas, which is fantastic because that frees me up to, well, do other things, or as my husband would put it, worry about other things. But anyway, um, the other thing is, there's an Italian tradition of the Feast of Seven Fishes, which I did not grow up with because I grew up in an Italian family, but in the middle of a desert. So fresh seafood really wasn't a thing. So we did different stuff for Christmas Eve. But a couple years back, and I think I may have again talked about this previously in another episode, a good friend of ours took our son out ice fishing and he loved it. I'm not a fish person, I don't like fishing. But my son was so proud of all the fish he caught that we prepped. I cooked up the fish and prepped the fish, and we had fish tacos on Christmas Eve. And he was so proud that he provided dinner for Christmas. And so we've done fish tacos and that sort of thing, or fish dinner a couple times. And so I was looking at some recipes and talking about maybe doing fish tacos or doing fish again this year. We'll see. It'll just depend on prices because, price of everything has gone up. But that'll be a possibility. And so that's Christmas Eve for us. This year, because Christmas is on Sunday, it's going to be slightly different than normal. But we have a rule, and I got this rule from my mother. And the rule is no one is allowed out of their bedroom before 7 o'clock. And that means the kids. They are not allowed downstairs anywhere near stuff. They are not allowed anywhere before 7. They don't even yeah, don't even worry about it. Not happening. So, and then after 7, we'll go down and they can go through their stockings and look at their stockings. But then we have breakfast and presents, and that's how we normally do it in that order. Because it's on a Sunday this year, our congregation is doing a special Christmas service at 9 in the morning, and so we're gonna do stockings and like a snack, and then we're gonna go to church, and then we'll come back and have brunch and then presents. But the rule is breakfast before presents. Because if mommy don't get her food, I get cranky. Like mommy get hangry. I well, we all know why, but parents tend to be a little bit extra tired on Christmas morning. Waiting up for Santa is really exhausting. And so yeah, that's just the way we run things in our house. And then some of the things we've done is like go for a walk. The place we live right now is rather cold, so I'm not sure we'll go for a walk or get out into nature, but those are other things we've done on Christmas. Or sometimes we'll get together with friends and whatnot. We're having some missionaries from our church over on Christmas Eve this year. Still trying to figure out what we're going to do for Christmas Day. So it's all over the place. But so then I threw this out threw this question out to different social media groups I'm on with other military spouses and got their ideas. And one said, and actually a few kind of said some variant on this one, that they tend to go to the movies, but they don't do it when it's on a Sunday. Or sometimes they'll even go bowling on Christmas Eve or New Year's. And I like that. I think because military installations, most of them have bowling alleys, and that's a really fun way to just spend the holidays is going bowling with your family. Um, Another one said that her husband makes sourdough bread and they make bacon and egg sandwiches and watch the Forgotten Carols. We like watching the Muppet Christmas Carol, or at least I do. I'm a huge Muppet Christmas Carols kind of person. And then they'll do brunch on Christmas Day. Now that their kids are getting older, they and they've been in the military for a while. They're going to be back near family, but they're probably going to end up keeping a lot of the traditions they built while they were in the military. Um, Yeah, also, PS, totally please with me, share your favorite Christmas movie in the comments on this one. I love Christmas movies. Um, I'm a very I love White Christmas and Muppet Christmas Carol. I think are my two favorites. I love a I love Dickens, and I feel like a little bit of a traitor sometimes, intellectual traitor. That Muppet Christmas Carol is my favorite version of the Christmas Carol, though. It always will be. Like, I know it doesn't sound very, sophisticated, but it's just so fun. And oh my gosh, the costumes are fantastic. And having done some costuming and been a costume designer for a little while, I appreciate good costumes. But anyway, I digress. Back to what other people's that they do for um some families, they'll invite other military families over to their house. This other military spouse said, she invites families over and sometimes they go caroling. Caroling is something that we have done in the past. We don't do it every year. It was something I grew up doing every year. I haven't even talked to my husband yet if we're gonna go caroling this year. I don't know. We'll see. We got out of the practice during COVID. We didn't do it as much during COVID, so we'll just have to see how that one goes. Another is Marco Polo or FaceTime Family or Zoom. We've tried that. It is a little hard because all the kids try to talk over each other and you can't really hear anyone. So I don't think we're going to try to do a group Zoom or Marco anything anymore. I think we're going to try to do that individually with people so that it's not like three sets of families of kids all screaming at each other. Make cards to send in the snail mail. I love sending Christmas cards, but that is something that my husband has completely left to me and my purview because I am kind of loving it and I love it and always have loved it and I always do it. We send a little family newsletter and yes, I'm one of those people. Um, but he could care less. To me it's important. To him it's not. Um So that's another one. Another family, they said that they love to read the Christmas story and have their kids act it out. We don't always act it out. Most of the time, I'm going to just be completely straight up. I've not been brave enough to try to get my kids to act out the Christmas story. We usually just watch a little nativity movie or something because it makes my life simple. And then we're still doing it. But yeah. Um, Then another one said that they don't really do much at all. They actually don't even normally eat typical like Christmas foods. They go out and order Chinese and they have Chinese usually for Christmas and they will sometimes have people over to play games and stuff. And then another one they said that they play board games and watch movies, but they're trying to come up with different ideas. They had one that they started trying, and she said it might sound a little silly, but they only let their kids open up one present every hour. And that way the presents last all day instead of it being just overwhelming and the kids kind of losing track of what they have. The kids get to open up one present each hour. They get to enjoy that present, and then the next hour they open up another present. And I actually thought that was a really cool idea. I don't know if I could get away with it. I think I'd have a mutiny on my hand if I tried to institute that one with my kids. But, it might be a fun idea to try. And that there are some of these that I heard and I was like, I had never thought of that. Like going bowling. My kids love bowling. That might be a really fun one. Um, and then yeah, the delaying the presents, stretching them out to make them last all day. Um, I Part of me wants to be gutsy enough to try it. I don't think I will be gutsy enough to try it, but it's a fun concept. So basically what I'm trying to get at is yes, the holidays can be overwhelming. Yes, they can be stressful. But one of the great pluses and minuses of being military families is we have the freedom to be like, Oh, we're on the other side of the country. Sorry, we're going to just have a quiet Christmas ourselves. Like, if you really don't want to go anywhere or do anything, you don't really have to. But if you do, you can. And there's lots of different things you can do. So, another thing we have done before, and we usually do it before Christmas Eve. Sometimes we do it on Christmas Eve. I like doing Christmas lights and Christmas decoration scavenger hunts with the kids. So we'll have like a checklist, and I usually pull them offline. There's millions of them online. Um, and we'll drive around and we'll look at all the Christmas decorations. We're like, okay, who can find this and who can find that? And we'll have our little scavenger hunt looking for Christmas decorations, different ones, and then come home and have hot chocolate. And I think that is a lot of fun. I've always enjoyed driving around and seeing Christmas decorations. So that is what, yeah, that's it for this week. Please share, feel free to share in the comments. What are your favorite Christmas movies? For those of you who go to movies or watch movies regularly, my mother's was It's a Wonderful Life, which it's having its 75th anniversary this year and is going to be back in theaters because of it. I personally am a huge fan of White Christmas. Go figure, military family. But what do you love? And what are your traditions? And what do you do? Please share. Let's share ideas and encourage each other this time of year. As always, I'm your host, Sam Wolf, and you're listening to Life of a Military Wife.